is...
One, two, one, two, one, one, two, one, two, one, two, one, two, one, one, two, one, two, one, two, one, two, one, one, two, one, two, one, two, one, two, one, one.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Quarantine with Gean. I don't know what this project is turning into, but I've just kind of been playing around with it. I've been having fun. I have a special guest in today. I got Miss Lori Wild. She is joining us. She is definitely a good friend of mine. We have been friends for quite some time. Lori is a sales professional, philanthropist, former athlete, fitness instructor, podcaster. We have also been on the show, fake ass radio show together at one point in time, and had some fun with that. And but here we are today. And Lori, what's happening? How are you? Good to have you today.
What up, Gean?
What is good? Good. Good to see
Hey,
you.
that background though.
Yeah,
Huh?
it's a spaceship over here. You know what I mean?
Is this thing on?
It's good to see you, kind of. But you look
What up,
very well
Gean?
protected and prepared.
What's up, everybody?
Well, what's
Gee,
good
I'm so
though?
proud of you. I'm so proud of you.
Hey, thanks. I was talking it over for some time, and just kind of got pushed in the direction to just want to talk about it more and take it to another platform. So here we are, making a
Hey, that
little show.
background though
You know
is
what I mean?
off the hook.
Yeah, thank you. So what's good with you, Lori? What's up? What's up with you? Tell us a little about yourself. Where you at in this mix right now?
Well, like you said, we go back a little bit. I'm just chilling in my house, honestly. All I can say is that right now I'm living.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm kind of right there along there with you. I'm just like taking everything back to the foundation of me. I'm kind of learning me quite a bit right now. I'm focusing on learning a new language. I'm just using Duolingo, but I'm learning Spanish and it's working. So it's great. As far as things go, I've been asking people about their perspective with the coronavirus, COVID-19, the epidemic, the stay-at-home order, everything else that comes along with it. To start it off, this is still brand new. I've been starting every interview with the same question, because it kind of blows my mind how fast this came upon us. But when coronavirus hit the scene, this was very new for a lot of us, new terminology. This wasn't a word that we were speaking about 4 months ago. We didn't know what COVID-19 was. We didn't know what a coronavirus was. As far as having a cough, most people generalized it as just a simple cold. Of course, there could be many different other medical problems beyond that. But where were you at? What was going through your head when you first heard the words COVID-19, coronavirus? Like what was on your mind at that time?
So we live in such a interesting time.
Mm-hmm.
I actually heard of coronavirus really early on.
Yeah.
So I was sort of tracking it in the New York Times because it just gradually became a story that evolved to a front story, or actually backwards technically, but it was definitely extremely interesting. So I was following it and very casually, didn't even realize what I was reading, honestly. Didn't even have any idea that this was a thing that would ever be close to my world.
Yeah, it was, as far as I took it in, it was a sickness, a cold, just like any other thing. And it was going to be in the news, then disappear. But of course, who would have thought it would turn into this?
Right. Well, I just was following along, and then all of a sudden in January, I listen to NPR when I drive for work.
Right.
In particular, my favorite show is Detroit Today. So I listen to that pretty regularly when I can. And they mentioned a story about how they were sort of, I think, maybe tracking it too, actually. Anyways, they had a story about how the healthcare industry was going to be basically supply challenged with face masks. And I was like, oh shit, face masks. I was like, oh, my mom could sew face masks.
Right. It doesn't look that complicated, to
No, but I was like, oh oh shit, I'm about to like make some money.
Right. You know, I'm always about the flip. What's happening?
I mean, that's what I could relate to at the time.
Right.
So,
Yeah. So yeah, it was and honestly, I didn't really think too much about it, but I didn't really even take it serious until I heard that the NBA was ending the season.
right.
And at that point, that's
Damn.
I was like, whoa,
Wait,
wait
what?
a minute. Yeah, I need to know more information about what's going on here. So, it definitely caught me off guard as well. The next couple things that were to follow, restaurants were to shut down, schools, museums, and then there's the stay-at-home order. So we're all at home at this point now. How are you dealing with the stay-at-home order yourself personally? Like how's it affecting you? Are you still working right now? Are you working from home? Or are you kind of at home and just kind of being a homebody and just kind of following the order?
Well, so I'm kind of a homebody anyways.
Yeah.
And I just moved into this like awesome condo that apparently has gnats.
I thought you were doing a dance move for me. I don't know.
No. So like I was like, again, I have been paying attention to this for months. So I think I actually had a super close call at the Utah Jazz Pistons game. So I was at the Pistons game because a girlfriend of mine grew up with a guy who works for the Jazz.
Yeah.
So after the game, we stayed after to like say hi and thank him for the tickets. And I gave him like a quick what up hug.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then 2 days later, the Utah Jazz and the Pistons game, like there was a player from the Utah Jazz who tested positive. So
Yeah.
I started self-isolating basically around that time. I've seen a total of 3 people since then.
All right.
I'm a homebody already. So I think for me, it's a matter of like not being able to go out and like feed off of other people's energy. Like I'm very much an energy person. So for me, it's like just being able to go out and smile at people or go entertain myself at the store or, like whatever.
Yeah.
Or a coffee shop or an art show, whatever there is to choose from of a thing to
life. Yeah.
Life, exactly. And
I keep saying I just want to go someplace where I could tip somebody. I don't even care what it is. I want fine dining. I want sliders and French fries. I want a coffee. I just want service. I would just like to interact with another human being and hope they're having a good day and say hello and goodbye.
Yeah, it's weird. So it's definitely made me question some of my own personal, like emotional connections or relationships or honestly, the things that I take for granted. But I think everything serves a purpose in your life. So for me, like trying to just remember that there's a reason.
Yeah.
For me, I also have like a difficult time because I am a survivalist in my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was sort of kidding with my face mask and glasses when you guys saw it on the screen, but for real though, that's what I look like when I'm out in public.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Pulled back and greasy, and I don't give a shit.
Hey, that's all right. I completely understand. Are you doing anything to pass the time since you're not able to go out right now? Are you doing anything to maybe
So
focus
I've
on
actually still
yourself?
been going outside working out. I try to go out every other day, and I have a patio, so I have a hammock and stuff, so I try to go out there and sit.
Yeah.
I admit the work weeks are difficult, but I don't know. I think maybe the weekends are harder.
Yeah.
Because there's more time to fill up, right?
Yeah, I would say.
Which is weird. That's like such a weird way to think. Oh, there's more time to fill up.
But you know what? That's about how it is right now for a lot of people.
I told one of my girlfriends on a Zoom, I was like, I feel like I'm like a senior living in a senior assisted living place where all I care about is what my next meal is.
I mean, and honestly, yeah, there's a stripped down raw simplicity right now. What I found is when my job closed, I want to say for the first 3 weeks, I found myself active I'd say maybe the first 2 weeks. I found myself active with, all right, cool. I got some time to clean stuff and do this and do that. And then after about that, then I've started to ponder, what am I going to do next? And I didn't know for maybe a couple of days. And I kind of went into maybe like a small slump of just active depression, not just like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? And I found that not having a system or a schedule for not having a schedule was kind of stressful for me to fill out a void. Like, what do I do with my time?
Yeah.
So I found myself eventually taking the top of my days and the bottom of my days and finally starting to fill it in and getting back to me, which again took a while for me to kind of figure out, but it feels good now. So coming out of this, I don't even know. I hope I don't lose this. I have a momentum of my space in my mind that I've just been able to cut out without having to commit it to work, I guess, right now.
No, for real though, I've actually had like some super spiritual revelations through dreams. So it's
Yeah.
definitely, I actually saw an article in the New York Times today that was talking about how more people are like Googling dreams because people are having more vivid dreams.
Mm,
And I'm like, that is real.
mm. Wow.
Like, and I
Wow.
also saw something in the New York Times talking about how the earth is vibrating less.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. So this like our conversation can stream into like a whole nother
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
and that's really
Absolutely.
what I meant when I meant survival. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what's coming,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but I know that we're seeing the display of power at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And my opinion goes in a couple of different directions about everything that's going on. And I know I haven't quite spoken to you about it, but there's a piece of me that I see the display in the news because I'm not a doctor. I'm not researching these things directly, but
Right.
I see what's happening. I see what gets displayed in the news, and of course there's a virus that people should be concerned with. There are people that are being affected. There are people that are dying. And then there's a side of me that's trying to understand how in depth this virus is and how many people are actually dying from it and its percentage rate of people that are actually being infected and then how it's being tested and, where that connects with a global shutdown. And that's the
Yeah.
part for me that concerns me. It makes me scared that either that there's a virus that's that strong that warrants a global shutdown, and when I think of strong personally, I don't know, I grew up in the 90s. HIV was the strongest virus that I was ever concerned with at the time, and that was, it breaks down your entire immune system and you die from having sex. Like that was one of the worst things a kid growing up in the 90s could hear. Like, if I have sex, I can die. What do you mean? So,
Right.
yeah, that was one
What?
perspective. Yeah. What do you mean? I'm finally here. I'm finally arrived.
Oh
When I first heard the coronavirus myself, I wasn't as concerned that it was a cough, and I kept hearing low mortality rate, and I then started to wonder the connection of the pandemic. Of course, there's a concern for people that are older and immune compromised that are to die. And first and foremost, I have a grandmother that's 90 years old that has had multiple heart transplants, and she's close to death at this point. Just to be realistic, and I wouldn't want to see her die. But again, I still find a fear in that this is a global pandemic over a what I see as a lung virus that affects the lungs and the breathing, but not enough that warrants a global shutdown. And that's the part I don't know. I maybe, and again, I don't know the numbers, but I have two different perspectives of this. Again, I don't want my grandmother to die, but B, I don't, B, my other side, I don't see this warrant a global shutdown. So that opens up another door of conversation for me. And what does this mean when we have global shutdowns like this? And of course, when it happens for something that I see not being oh so big, I just see the stirring of the pot, which means eventually, probably 3 or 4 years from now, we're going to see another one that is going to be even stronger, and we're going to have to do this again. And what concerns me is that this becomes a regular seasonal thing that we have to quarantine and shut down. And my ultimate question is, where does a virus of this magnitude come from? You know, out of these many years that we've all lived on the planet Earth, like where did this particular one come from that we are now doing global shutdowns? I feel like it's an internet bug more than anything myself. And I don't know. I'm not a doctor, so I don't have the answer, but I get
Wuhan,
lost
China.
in thought at times. Yeah.
Come from Wuhan, China.
Yeah. And that's the epicenter of the, the occasion. That's what we do know, I guess
For now.
Yeah, that's what we do know for now. And I guess I just have further questions beyond. And, I don't want to get too deep and too dry in thought, but the thought that I see coming next is a mandatory universal vaccine. And if you don't have the vaccine, then you will be ultimately put in a uncomfortable position until you do get the vaccine. And, I believe people should have the right to have vaccines if they want them, but I don't believe that they should be mandatory. So I'm not saying this is fact, but this is just my theory that I see now. And that to me gets a little concerning for me. So those are just some of my fears and concerns with
I see that.
Yeah, with
those
what's happening.
Those are legitimate concerns, Gean.
Yeah, I would say.
I mean, yeah, I called my survivalist cousin when this happened.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And it's a smart thing to do. It's a smart thing to do.
So here's my question, right? And honestly, there's nothing wrong with questioning. So I think it's our duty.
Yeah.
I think it's a privilege to question.
Yeah.
And I really do think that if you don't ask, you don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So I think there's two ways of looking at this. It can either force us back into localized government, which I think is extremely important.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've all been living an extremely gluttonous life.
Yep.
All of us, whether you're American or you're Brazilian or you're Chinese or you're Italian, like whatever, right? Yep. We've all been living way too gluttonously.
Absolutely.
Like, it's just sort of disgusting. And I have no doubt in my mind that there's some larger plan around population control. We've already seen it in other countries where they try to manage how many people can have how many kids.
Right.
And that usually has ways and things that come out of it that no one thought of.
Right.
Like men committing suicide in China because they minimized one child to the family, and in their culture, it's not good to have a daughter, so they're just throwing daughters in the woods to die.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. And and these are just consciousnesses too.
I'm sorry, that went really deep, really quickly. My bad.
And it's there. You brought it up as a thought, to be there. And again, like you said.
Or my second thing, we can get too government controlled, and then we're getting mass vaccines that you're pressured into getting because
absolutely.
If you want to go across the ocean, you got to have a vaccine.
Yep. And that's what I'm afraid of. And I like having my passport. I like being able to travel internationally.
So travel is some of the most gluttonous things that we can actually do. You're
absolutely right. 'Tis true. When you do break it down, you're absolutely right. On a brighter note, what are some of the positive things that you have seen in your perspective of the world, maybe yourself or internationally across the globe, anything in a positive light of things going on right now with the stay-at-home order and, this epidemic going on?
Yeah, so I love seeing people step outside their comfort zones.
Yeah.
I love seeing them think with their heart. I like seeing them give back to things that they, maybe otherwise had never really considered doing.
Yeah.
I think humanity as a whole is extremely neighborly, and we are community and cultural driven.
Yeah.
So I think that it's important to maintain those things moving forward, and the importance of those. Like, it takes a village,
Yeah.
For me personally, I have been working up to, I'm always trying to evolve or like learn more about myself. So through this, I've definitely learned my anxiety patterns and things that I let control my mind, and my lack of discipline. I've recognized that I definitely have a lack of discipline.
Yeah.
Um,
I
I
think you and
feel more.
I think you and I share a similar thought process. I call myself a procrastinating perfectionist. Sometimes I'll procrastinate things, and then I find something that I'm fixated on, and I become a master of it. This is just the way my brain operates, at least.
I don't know if I do that.
Okay.
I definitely am willing to try lots of things.
Yeah, and that I guess that's how I'll define myself. I used to be an artist when I was younger, and I'd have like art assignments, maybe for school or something to that nature, and we'd have like a month to do the assignment, and I would not touch any piece of my art until maybe like 24 hours before the art was due, and then I would turn it in and end up getting an A, and it'd be in the art show for the state art show, and it would be like a great piece that I'd be proud of. But of course, I just never applied myself. So I had to procrastinate, but then I'd stay up all night till it wasn't its perfection. So I'd spend 12 hours on it all in one night.
I guess I was like that in college.
Yeah.
I tend to like rewrite and then rewrite and then rewrite.
And then you get an A on
writing.
it. Then you get an A on it. Then you get rewarded for procrastinating somewhere in your cycle.
I never got A's on my show.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe that's how it worked for me. I don't know.
I got B's and C's, okay?
Well, then I'd be psycho for the next couple of years.
Enthusiastically, I got B's and C's.
Yeah, so that's good. That's good. You're finding some positive lights to at least be able to reflect upon yourself, and hopefully take a lot of those thoughts and ideas and dreams with you, in the next few months to come, after hopefully the stay-at-home orders lifted. Yeah. So how long do you think this is going to last? How long do you think the stay-at-home order is going to last? You think here in Michigan, as of right now, April 30th is where we're expected, for as of now, before there's any other changes from the governor? Do you think that we're just going to lift the stay-at-home order and it's going to go back to normal, or do you think there's going to have to be some type of system that
I think if we were smart, there would be a system.
Yeah.
Because we're here in Michigan, where we're just starting to come out of hibernation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I think here it's a little bit more risky to just lift a stay-at-home order. I would suspect, and I would hope, that our leadership in government would consider that keeping people of age or at risk at home longer would probably be a good strategy, unless they don't have any underlying conditions and they want to risk it or whatever, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I think school, we're in a good position because it's already basically the end of the school year.
Yeah.
I think they should consider implementing summer school towards the end of the summer.
Yeah.
Leading into the fall.
Yeah.
Because why not?
Right. Why not? Why not? Absolutely. So how long do you think this is going to last? What's your prediction of a time frame, if you could put one together?
Well, I don't think it's like gonna end.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the it's gonna evolve into something that becomes like an AIDS like remembrance. It's something that we're gonna have to like keep in our minds.
Yeah.
I think to your point though, the question is what's next?
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, what's next? It just scares me to think about, and I just know that every institution is corruptible at some point. Every institution has a weak spot. And somebody will find it at some point if you allow that to happen. And I think this action opens up a lot of doors, and we're doing it for a good cause in mind, as the front runner of the story as of now. But I'm afraid that a lot of bad things could happen at the end of it. And and again, I guess I'm just being a preparer myself, to have that in mind. I'm looking at my finances differently. I'm trying to address where to invest right now. Should I be investing in this direction or that direction? Because I think a lot of things are happening right now, and there's just so much to be concerned with. And again, I have a 90-year-old grandmother that I'm, happy to enjoy any conversation I have with her at this point, because who knows, when she might pass and move on, so there's a lot to consider. Yeah.
Yes, Gean, there is.
Yeah. So
I definitely, I think if anything, I hope that people start to reflect more on their own lives.
Yeah.
I think one of the things I was going to put on my what I am or what I do thing that you sent me is Buddhist. I've recently become Buddhist. And for me, I actually really think that our job is to continue to self-evolve and actualize and reflect and grow and attain.
Yeah.
But you can only do that for yourself.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I said to someone the other day that I was actually going to get to this point too, is like, I'm so glad that you pushed me to do this, because for me, I find it, I'm more inspired to be better myself when I know other people maybe are holding me accountable or want to see me grow or are supportive or, just are like down to push, right?
Absolutely. And respectfully thank you as well, because I feel like you've given me that energy in return.
Yeah. So for me, I didn't call you this weekend because I didn't want to shower. I was struggling with anxiety.
That's okay.
Right. Exactly. Like, it's okay. And as women, all my girls out there, we have cycles, and I'm learning that my cycle and my energy is very strong.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I hope everyone figures that out for themselves too.
Yeah. So, well, Lori, was there anything else that you wanted to add to the episode? Any topics you wanted to cover or mention? Or
no, other than just thanks for hanging.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Lori, I appreciate you coming on today. Hopefully we can have more chats like this on future episodes. And I hope you're quarantining well and everything's going well. This has been another episode of Quarantine with Gean. And I hope you guys keep following, hit the like button, follow, do whatever else you need to do. And Lori, thank you.
Quarantine with Gean.
Yeah.
Yeah.